We're back here with you on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports, and we're going to talk to you about professional golfer Tiger Woods. On March 27th, his Land Rover clipped the back of a truck and rolled onto its side on a residential road on Jupiter Island. That was his second DUI from the accounts that I have read, Larry. My name is Ron Poniewasz, and if I had two DUIs, you are a lawyer by trade. That's why we keep you on here, Larry, so you can help us out in these situations. Where would Ron Poniewasz be after a second DUI?
In Pennsylvania, you'd be in jail. There's a 30-day mandatory jail sentence if you have two DUIs within a 10-year period. 30-day mandatory, you'd be in jail.
And I don't have a Nike sponsorship or billions of dollars. And what does Tiger Woods get? He basically told the judge that, well, I'm gonna work on my health. I'm gonna take a hike to some other country or whatever, and go into rehab, which is code for I need to go to Turks and Caicos or wherever and sip Mai Tais and enjoy life because okay, he blew a 0.00, and a lot of people that are Tiger Woods fans are taking his part and saying, hey, he's innocent, 0.00. Okay, well, the arresting officer found stuff on him, and he told him, quote, that's a Norco, end quote. It's after the officer pulled out the pills, referring to a painkiller that contains amphetamine and opioid and hydrocodone. It was confirmed he was in possession of hydrocodone. You could take that stuff and still be under the influence. You might not be under the influence of Budweiser or Michelob or Coors Light, but you're under the influence of pills or whatever, and that affects your driving. And Larry, I know you probably don't know this name because you're not a wrestling fan. Her name was, in terms of wrestling circles, Sunny. Back in the 90s, huge. She was huge all over the place. She was kind of before her time, kind of before the internet really got going. If she was popular today, I mean, with OnlyFans and all that other kind of stuff going on, she would be just out of this world popular. Real name is Tammy Lynn Sitch. She has been in problems with DUI, and I think she's caused accidents where people have died in accidents or whatever. That's Tiger Woods, and probably wouldn't be great to say, but I don't think he's going to be happy until something like that happens. This keeps happening, and it shouldn't happen. You've got all that money. Find somebody to drive for you.
Well, Ronnie, I mean, this is a Shakespearean tragedy. It really is. It appears that he is addicted to painkillers. And under the law, it's driving under the influence. It doesn't have to be under the influence of alcohol. It could be under the influence of drugs. And I watched something on YouTube. They had a video of him in jail, and when he was blowing into the breathalyzer, he certainly looked to have been intoxicated.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first time. The first time he was sleeping on the side of the road and they charged him with driving under the influence. Then there was the incident in California where he almost killed himself, almost lost his leg, drove the vehicle off the road at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And they never charged him with driving under the influence in that case, probably because he was Tiger Woods. He's certainly going to get charged with driving under the influence now. And I don't know what the law is in Florida, but in Pennsylvania, if you refuse to be chemically tested, it's an automatic 1-year driver's license suspension. If you look at the video, he appears to be under the influence. He appears to be addicted to painkillers. It appears to be clear, and he's just lucky that he hasn't killed anybody. In Pennsylvania, if you're driving under the influence and you get in an accident and somebody dies, it's a 3-year mandatory jail sentence. So he needs to be in rehab. There's no question about it. And again, you're talking about a guy that's probably worth billions of dollars.
Yep.
He appears to be addicted to painkillers. And this happened at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4:30 in the afternoon. So he's very fortunate that he didn't kill himself or somebody else. The man needs help, and he needs it badly. And he said he's going to get it. Let's hope he does. I mean, there is nobody who has been bigger in golf in the last 20 years, maybe 30 years, than Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Nobody bigger in the game. Nobody.
And I mentioned Tammy Lynn Sitch, also known as Sonny, the former wrestler, valet, all that kind of stuff. The one name I will mention to you, and you will know the person, not personally, obviously, but Henry Ruggs, former wide receiver for the I think back then the Oakland Raiders, driving in maybe in Vegas or something, and certainly under the influence, he did not blow 0.00. He had a number, and it was well over the legal amount. And he killed a woman and her dog in Vegas. He gets a jail sentence, and now he's up for possible parole. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, great, bring him back to the NFL." There's a woman and an animal that's dead, and this guy, number one, is still breathing, and number two, has a second shot at life. That woman would love a second shot at life. That dog would love a second shot at life. I've always been under the impression, an eye for an eye, a life for a life. She's gone. He should be gone.
Here's the only difference, Ronnie. Here's the only difference. And maybe you need to be a lawyer to understand this. If you commit murder and you shoot somebody, there's an intent there to kill somebody. There's a premeditation and an intent to cause bodily harm that ultimately resulted in somebody's death. The difference is, in a DUI case, there is no intent to cause harm. There's certainly a big risk that you're going to cause harm when you drive under the influence of alcohol or a controlled substance. But the intent element is not there. When you get in your car and you're drunk or you're under the influence of drugs, it isn't your intent to go out and hurt somebody. The fact that you're doing it is reckless behavior, and the consequences of that reckless behavior are stiff. There are mandatory jail sentences, but it's a little different than taking out a gun with the intent to kill somebody and shooting them 3 times in the chest. That's why those crimes that involve intent involve life imprisonment or worse. In a DUI case, there is no intent. The fines are stiff. 3 years mandatory jail sentence in Pennsylvania is a pretty stiff fine. And there have been some people who had no criminal record who have been otherwise fine, upstanding citizens who have had to go to jail for 3 years because they were driving under the influence and somebody dies.
3 years doesn't seem stiff enough to me. 15 or 20 years, I could understand somebody saying that's pretty stiff. 3 years, to me, that's not stiff.
Well, the next time you see one of our state legislators, you should tell them that. I just know that in my experience, oftentimes the 3-year mandatory jail sentence, sometimes there's a plea arrangement that you enter into so that you're not subject to that. I've seen that happen. Again, because this happens to good people, Ronnie, just because nobody wants to be addicted to drugs or alcohol. I've never met anybody that said, "Oh, yeah, I wanted to be addicted." The problem is, once you are addicted to drugs or alcohol, there's not a good exit strategy, Ronnie. There's not a good exit strategy. It's not easy to get outside of that addiction. Very few people do. Tiger Woods, with all the resources in the world, can't get out from under it. And it's a Shakespearean tragedy. I've said that. He's lucky that he didn't die or somebody else didn't die. You know how fast you got to be going to flip your car?
Yeah.
Flip your car? Yeah. Yeah, it's a sad commentary. I don't expect you'll see him on the golf course anytime soon for a long, long time.
Yeah, and the other thing, about that is we're talking about it, that this stuff happens way too often. And the thing is, if this happened back in the 60s or the 70s, even 80s, there's a lot less resources. Now and back then, okay, they had taxis. Then we have taxis now. Uber is around. Uber wasn't around back in the 60s, 70s. He's got extra resources at his fingertips. His bank account is another resource. He finds somebody to either pay as a driver, get an Uber. You could do all the stuff you want, and you're safe and sound in the back of a car vehicle.
No, there's no excuse for driving a car under the influence to the extent that he appeared to be. This guy, he could not only have a driver, he can have a fleet of drivers. He could have a helicopter pick him up at his house. He could have a private jet take him from one spot to the other. He has all of those resources. What he doesn't apparently have is good judgment.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, again, he appears to be addicted to painkillers. He's had multiple surgeries, and he needs help. And it looks like he's going to get it. And I thank God nobody died here. It would be a lot. It would be even worse if somebody had. But you got to know better. You're right. You got to know better. And he's paying a price. This ain't like John Doe getting picked up for the second time for driving under the influence. This is Tiger Woods. It is national front page news. How do you feel? How do you think his kids feel, Ronnie? I mean, you're a pretty tough guy here on him. You want him to go to jail forever. What about his kids? What about the abuse they have to take because their dad continues to drive vehicles and wreck them while under the influence of painkillers? Should they suffer too?
Well, that was my next question to you, is he's got to get himself right, because I don't know his exact family history, but he's got at least one son, Charlie, who's coming up and going to be an up and coming golfer. He's done great things so far on the amateur side of things. He's played in those father-son invitationals and this and that. I don't know if he's quite in college yet, but you've got a family. You got to think about stuff like that.
Well, yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely, you do. By all accounts, Tiger Woods is a good father, but he's addicted to painkillers. And sometimes it affects it affects your judgment. It affects every aspect of your life. Nobody wants to be addicted to painkillers. Nobody. And I've known a lot of people who have been. And oftentimes it was after a very serious injury. And you take that stuff, and then all of a sudden, you can't get off it. I mean, there were multi-million-dollar payouts over the use of OxyContin in the United States of America, because so many people, unbeknownst to them, were addicted, without trying. It just happens.
Yeah, it's also pretty popular, that sort of thing, like in the pro wrestling world too. You could watch any number of documentaries, Dark Side of the Ring, and there's wrestlers that got hooked on painkillers because they're back in like the 80s or 70s, 80s, even 90s. They're on the road every night and working 300 days a year. That takes a toll on your body. And a lot of people might say, hey, it's fake. Okay, well, I tell you what, you fall down, you jump off a top rope onto a mat or whatever every night, sometimes 5 or 6 times during a match, and you're wrestling in maybe 2 or 3 cities in one day and getting very little sleep. And at that time back then, in the 70s, 80s, what have you, you're making very minimal money. I mean, we're talking now that the salaries are pretty darn good, but back then you're taking all that abuse and very little pay, and you got to make yourself feel a little bit better. So in that world too, that's it. Kind of started in that sport, pro wrestling.
Yeah, and they're handing these pills out like candy, and
Yeah.
nobody knew early on of the addictive nature of some of these drugs. Now today they do know. People know today. So you can't say, geez, I didn't know, or, oh, geez, I wish I, no, now, but once you go down that road, and you become addicted, there's not a good exit strategy. And that appears to be where Tiger Woods is at. So I have a little empathy for him, but I think we can all agree he's used very bad judgment.
Yes,
Bad
incredibly.
judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, that wraps it up for Tiger Woods. And we're going to have another topic that Larry Kelly is very good at, and it's going to be basketball. The men's basketball Final Four is this weekend. We'll take a break and we'll talk about the NCAA Final Four right here on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports.
We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for personal injury cases involving automobile accidents and workers' compensation claims for over 90 years. At LGKG, over 10,000 clients have trusted us to represent them. We know how to present your case to a Western Pennsylvania jury. We know what makes them tick. We know how to win.
We're back with you here on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports. This is going to be our discussion about the NCAA men's basketball Final Four. Two great games this Saturday to kick things off, or to tip things off, if you will. 6:09 p.m., I believe, is the first game. Yes, on TBS, True TV, all the other networks you can imagine. First off is Illinois and UConn. Illinois is the number 3 seed. They are 28-8. And UConn is the number 2 seed at 33-5. Followed by 30 minutes after that game will be a pair of 1 seeds going at it. Number 1 Arizona, 36-2 against number 1 Michigan, 35-3. First off, Larry, are you excited about the Final Four?
I love the NCAA tournament. I do. And I'm still not over the Duke-UConn game. I don't know if you saw the ending of that, Ronnie. Unfortunately, it reminded me a little bit of the Newcastle Upper St. Clair game. You know, Duke got this lead. All they got to do is hold the ball. They're going to get fouled, and they turn it over. And, UConn hits a shot from the logo. Mullins hits a 3-pointer from the logo. As you recall, Newcastle, we had a 3-point lead, and with 19 seconds to go, and we turned it over. We allowed a bucket and then turned it over against the press. So the coaches from Duke probably haven't slept all week, but you got to give UConn credit, man. They kept grinding. They never quit. They played the entire 40 minutes. And they had the last throw and the last laugh. And don't count you. I know they're a dog in this game. It surprises me. Illinois is a 1.5-point favorite, but don't count UConn out. I heard the national announcers, commentators say they have championship culture at UConn, and that goes a long way. How about you?
I was shocked to see UConn. It opened, I think, 2.5, and it's down to 1.5. And I got 2.5. And the other day when I made my Connor Griffin Rookie of the Year bet, I put in 2 bets for the Final Four. One of them is UConn. I took 2.5. Happy to take it. And I will also take money line on that one. But before I go too far on the other game, Larry, you are like everybody else. You don't go back far enough on the Duke-UConn game, far enough. And this will chap me on the backside until the day I die. And I am totally against everybody on this topic. I hate fouling up 3. I hate it. And I will tell every coach and every human being on the planet, I hate fouling up 3. It's terrible. And Duke did that. And go watch that game. Go watch how it ends. Pass. Oh gosh, we got to do pass. They were out of sorts and they fouled with 10 seconds left. They did UConn a favor. Now the guy missed the first free throw and he really needed to make it so he could miss the second one. But he made the second one. Okay, you're down 2. It's still 1 possession game. And they inbound it. Duke caught it, moved it around again. And then the guy caught it. And I was listening to Jay Billis today on a gambling channel say Duke has always been taught when you throw it to that next guy, it's catch and pivot is what they teach him. And he said he caught it and pivoted, and you're supposed to hold on to the ball and get fouled. And
well, he put it on the ground. You're supposed to catch it, pivot, face the defender, and then read it and make a play. Had he done that, those two guys in the corner were wide open. Had he got the game was over. But what happened is, and I heard Jay Billis say this, he caught it with his back to the defender, dribbled it once, then turned around. Now he lost his ability to dribble again because he picked it up. Those two guys trapped him in the middle of the court. They got their hands on the ball. But look, if he holds on to the ball, they foul him. And that was Caden Boozer, who's an 80% foul shooter. And you're up by 2. And I don't know, Ronnie, there's a lot of different theories on fouling, whether when you're up 3. You know, some coaches do it, some don't. The rule of thumb is under 5 seconds, you do it. You know, that's kind of the rule of thumb. Because shooting and hitting a 3-pointer anymore is like shooting a layup, Ronnie. I mean, that kid, Mullen, was that his last name, I think? He shot it from the logo. It was 35 feet. And it touched nothing. It was nothing but the net, you know. So you can't give a team an open look on a 3-pointer at the end of the game. I'm kind of I know you're feeling, you made it clear, but I'm kind of in the camp that you get under 5 seconds, I'm fouling you. I'm putting you on the line. You got to make one, miss one, tip it out, catch it, and shoot it. I'll take my chances with that.
Yeah, the thing with that is they were moving the ball around and they were having a hard time. They looked like they were disheveled. They were just out of sorts. And I kind of thought, and I need to look at it again to see if they actually had another timeout. I kind of thought, and I think they did have another timeout, because when they got the steal, I think Danny Hurley wanted a timeout so they could set something up, but it, naturally played out. But I just don't like that in a 3-pointer distance, 27.5 feet. 28 feet, something like that. Help me out. Is that the distance?
Oh no, the 3-point line in the college game's like 21 feet now.
Okay,
so it's not that far.
Okay,
it used to be. It's 19.9, I think, in the high school game. Then they moved it back. I think it's 21 feet now in the college game. So it's not that far. And Ronnie, they shoot them like they're shooting layups. A good 3-point shooter is going to shoot 40% from 3-point range. Listen, Duke did it right. They inbounded the ball to Carlos Boozer. He's 6'8". It's pretty tough to trap a guy that's 6'8". The easiest thing to do after the ball is inbounded is to get it back immediately to the guy who passed it inbounds. And that's what he did. It went right back to the guy. And now you're looking to the middle of the court. And that's what they did. Caden Boozer flashed to the middle of the court. The execution was perfect. The problem was Caden Boozer panics. He dribbles, he turns, and then he tries to make a pass. After that trap had gotten to him, it got deflected. Had he made the pass, game's over. And probably if he just holds on to the ball, they foul him and the game's over. Duke got to be sick. They got to be sick. They can't sleep I'm sure John Shire still hasn't slept after that game. That was shocking. And I'm not a Duke fan. I'm not a big Duke fan. But I did have them in my bracket winning it all. So I was a little disappointed. But, it's called March Madness, my man. And you're going to see some more of it on Saturday. Now, if you're asking me, I think Arizona is the best team in the tournament. And it's kind of surprising that, they're getting 1.5. Michigan's good. Everybody's saying the Michigan-Arizona game will decide the national championship. Don't sleep on UConn and Illinois. Don't do it. That'd be a bad idea.
I've got UConn beating Illinois, and I have Arizona defeating Michigan. I'm taking UConn and Arizona on a 2-game two-team money line parlay that pays plus 330. If you're on an offshore account, you can get that on a little bit of a boost. And of course, I think the maximum you can bet is $10, but still plus 423 or somewhere around there. That, to me, that's good. Getting back to UConn, there's two things I want to hit you with real quick on the fouling up three. Let's say they don't foul up three and UConn hits a three. All you got's overtime. The way you play it out, and you horse around and you foul, and then you get a free throw and then a turnover, and then they stick a three in your eye hole with 0.3 of a second. You're screwed. You're screwed in regulation. At least my way, I get overtime. My way, I'm saying here, make a 21-footer. If you can make it, God bless you. We'll see you in overtime.
There's a lot of people that think the way you think. I can tell you, when we first started at Newcastle, Coach Belando and the staff decided if we're up three and there's less than 10 seconds to go, we're going to foul. The problem is we could never get it right. With high school kids, they're fouling guys while guys are shooting three-pointers. It was a disaster. So we play it out at Newcastle. And I can only remember one time that it burned us, and that was several years ago when Highlands hit one from the corner to tie the game, and we went in overtime and lost. And that was maybe 10 years ago, but that's the only time I can remember us getting tied or beat on a three-pointer at the end of the game. So there's a lot of people that feel like you. So it's split. I don't know that it's 50-50. I think more college coaches do it your way than foul.
Yeah, couple Saturdays ago, it also happened in a Nuggets Lakers game. Nuggets are up three. Lakers got the ball with like 15 seconds to go. They go down the court. Hey, we're going to foul Austin Reeves. Okay, Reeves makes the first, misses the second. It goes right off the front of the rim. He catches the ball, makes it overtime. It's like, I'd rather you say, here, make a 28-footer. If you make it, we go overtime. That, to me, that's fluky of getting a rebound and all that kind of stuff. I don't believe in it. I don't like it, and I wouldn't condone.
Again, you're not right very often, but I think more people think the way you think in the college game anyway than the way Duke played it out, and it definitely burned them. Yeah, because they didn't execute. Had they executed, Ronnie, they're winning that game. They are winning that game. Nobody could believe what happened, including UConn. If you looked at their bench, they were like shocked. I can't believe this just happened. And I don't know. I think a lot has to do with the coaching. The guys that are you got Danny Hurley. They say he's the best in the game right now. He's got 2 national championships. You got Brad Underwood. I think this might be his first foray into the Final Four. I know he's coaching Oklahoma State for a while. I don't think they've ever made it. Dusty May, this is his first Final Four appearance. He was at Florida Atlantic University before he came to Michigan. Now, Tom Lloyd was with Gonzaga as an assistant for Mark Few, so he's been to a few Final Fours. So if you're looking at coaching experience, Danny Hurley got a big edge. They've been in the Final Four. This is not 3 of the last 4 years, and they won it all twice. So don't count UConn out, man. They called it championship culture is what they have.
And they own in their hip pocket, they have a 13-point win over Illinois from earlier in the season. And Brad Underwood's one of his main assistants. You should know the name. You should know the guy, Orlando Antigua.
Well, yeah, it's a former Pitt guy. Yeah, former Pitt guy.
He's followed Brad Underwood around. I think this is a second stint with him. Is he ever going to be a candidate for a possible Pitt opening if one comes up down the road?
I don't know. It's probably a little too late. I think he was at South Florida maybe, and it didn't go well there for him as a head coach. So, yeah, he's probably past his, sweet spot for getting a Power 4 conference head coaching job. I'm still not over Pitt. They made Jeff Capel fire his brother and Tim O'Toole. Really? What was that all about? Who are you trying to appease? That's weakness. That just shows weakness in the leadership level of that university. Listen, you don't like Jeff Capel, then fire him. Don't fire two of his assistants and make the guy fire his brother. That's cowering to alumni who want somebody's head to roll. And you don't have either the money or the guts or both to fire Jeff Capel. You make him fire his brother. I don't like that, Ronnie. I just don't like that. I see that kind of stuff too often. But normally you see that stuff in local school boards. They get pressure from a parent, they fire a coach. You don't see it at the highest level of college basketball where, they want somebody's head to roll, so they tell the head coach, fire your brother. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want something else to look at, how you mentioned UConn, even UConn's players and coaches were surprised that they won. Find the footage of Bob Hurley Sr. and his wife in the crowd, and she makes you could read her lips. She says, "We won the expletive game. He made the expletive shot. Are you expletive kidding me?" So if you want to get a good laugh, and it's plain as day, you could read her lips. It's like, okay,
I think I saw that. Yeah, I did. I think nobody could believe that game was over, Ronnie. For all practical intents and purposes, that game was over, and but then it wasn't. And that's the beauty of March Madness, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, and that's why everybody loves it. And I can't wait to watch this weekend. I'll be glued to the TV. I really don't have a rooting interest. You know what I mean? I had Duke in my bracket, so I lost my family bet. But I don't know. When the games start, I kind of develop a rooting interest. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I like Tom Lloyd. Arizona plays basketball the way it should be played. They really do. They move the ball offensively. They defend, as does Michigan. They probably are the two best, but don't count out UConn. Championship culture.
I like Dan Hurley, and I have to because I'm a Robert Montgomery Knight fan. So if I was to say I don't like Dan Hurley, then how would that make any sense? But the reason I'm mentioning this to you, Larry, and I gotta get your opinion on it because you're a basketball guy, you're a coach. Does it not say anywhere in the rule book, not just basketball, but any sport, a coach or player cannot have any form of contact with a referee?
He headbutted the official after they hit that shot. This guy's insane. I mean, Danny Hurley, he kind of really loses it during the game. What was that all about? He headbutted the official after the game.
I don't know if it was
not after the game, after they made that shot.
Yeah, there's still time on the clock. The comment I saw, and I don't know if it was a joke or not, he said, I'll paraphrase it, I thought the referee was getting ready to chest bump me. Okay, you went forehead to forehead. Now, I know a lot of times you have that phrase of you can't call that in that situation, but he made contact with the referee. So, but by rights, I'm thinking if I'm
no, somebody made mention of that. There could have been a technical foul called. Could you imagine if that official would have called the T? Because now it's two shots.
And the ball.
Right. Danny Hurley, listen, I'm not a big fan of his sideline antics. I'm just not. I'm not. One thing I respect most about Ralph Bellendo, Ralph has had one technical foul in 16 years. He never loses his composure. He knows how to challenge an official on calls. Because when you lose your composure as a coach, the team's going to lose theirs, Ronnie. And I'm not a big fan of Danny Hurley's sideline antics. Oftentimes, they're totally out of control. They just are. And that doesn't help your team. It just doesn't.
The other game is Arizona and Michigan. I think they're expecting a track meet. The over-under is 157.5. Conversely, the Illinois-UConn over-under is 135.5. I like the 139.5. It has swelled a little bit. Michigan, Arizona, 157.5, that both teams like to get up and down the court. I like the over in Michigan, Arizona. I think we're going to see fireworks. I think both games are going to be close. As I mentioned, for me, it's going to be UConn and Arizona in the championship game on Monday night.
Yeah, and don't count UConn out. I'm just telling you, there's Danny Hurley. He is the best coach in the Final Four, and he's won 2 championships, and he's been there 3 times, and he's developed a championship culture. He's the real deal, and you got to have players. You can't win without them. But when you get to this level, and when you get to the Final Four, the players on each team, the talent's pretty equal. It really, really is. And each team has their one go-to guy. And normally, if your go-to guy is better than the other team's go-to guy, you're going to win. But don't count out coaching. In these games, it probably has the most impact. And Danny Hurley's the real deal. My man is proven. These other guys haven't been there. Not as head coaches.
Right. And Storrs, Connecticut could be the basketball capital of college basketball. If the men's basketball team is able to capture the national championship, the women, UConn women, are in the Final Four as well. They play Friday against South Carolina. Texas, UCLA is in the other game. So UConn, men and women, I think that's already happened once or twice several years ago. Could happen again.
I think the UConn women are prohibitive favorites. I'm a big Gino Auriemma fan. He's an old school guy too. He's old school. I like Gino, and I really respect what the UConn women do. That's special there. That's special. So exciting weekend for basketball. If you're a basketball fan, man, you're going to be glued to the TV this weekend. There's going to be some good stuff.
One other thing that's been floating around with college basketball, and you've probably seen it. Do you have an opinion on the start times of games? A lot of people have been belly aching, complaining, griping, you name it, where you play a game at 1 and then a game at 4:30 and then 7:45 and 10:30, and people are saying, well, I got to get up tomorrow. This happens 5 or 6 times out of a 365-day calendar year. You can't, manage 5 or 6 days to be burdened with a night game. I mean, give me a personal break.
Yeah, but you know what? Some of those 10 o'clock games, man, those are late starts. But it's all about TV, Ronnie. It's all about TV and TV revenue. Now, I got to be honest. A young guy like you, if the game starts at 10 o'clock, it's over like 12:30, you're good with that. I'm in bed. I can maybe make it to halftime, and then I'm in bed. Old guys like me, I'm in bed by 11 o'clock.
Got any plans for Thursday, May 14th or Friday, May 15th?
Why? What's going on? You can invite me to something?
There could be an NCAA basketball game that's 10. Oh, I forgot. The NCAA tournament's over. See, we're fretting about game times. People are losing their minds over this. It happens 5 or 6 times. It's very rare, and it's just a topic that bothers me.
People, there's a lot of stuff that bothers you, but you're like the average guy. There's people, they can't be happy. It doesn't matter. If the game started at 12 noon, they would be complaining. Right. And if it started at 10 o'clock, they would be. Some people just like to complain, my man. They're happy being miserable. They're happy when they're unhappy. Me, that's why I'm the good guy in Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports. Very few things get under my skin. Like you went off on 4 or 5 rants already in this show. Me, not so much. I'm not a rant guy. I'm a once, twice a year guy where I'll go off on a rant.
Now you got to keep things together. Me, not so much.
Not so much. That's for sure.
All right. Well, we hope to do this again next week. We put one topic on hold, and that'll be NFL. So we hope to get to that real soon. Larry, parting words.
Hey, listen, it's going to be a great weekend. Go Bucks. I think I'm going to get down on the Buccos tomorrow, man. I think I am. And, it could be an exciting summer. There's nothing better than when you're hometown Major League Baseball team is in a pennant race, man. That's as good as it gets.
Go Bucks, manage your hydrocodone, and certainly enjoy Final Four basketball. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniewasz. We'll see you back here next week on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports, where I'm the bad guy. He's the good guy.
You're right. All right, my man.
Thank you.
We all know there's an advantage to playing at home, to being the home team. At LGKG, we've been your home team personal injury attorneys for auto accident and workers' compensation cases for over 90 years. We know what works and how to win. We have all the credentials. At LGKG, we don't take every case. We handpick our clients so that we can give you the attention you deserve.